Patrimonial studies can be interpreted as any elements that witness the constructive culture and any character that's involved through the city's evolution. We took brutalist architecture, which has a long-standing love-hate relationship with people, as the choice of study. Brutalism is the term applied to the architectural style which used raw concrete in large block forms, which had its glory period around the 1950s to 1970s. These are the set of ideas that emerged after the Second World War. This style's character emerged from the need to reconstruct the cities faster after the Second World War. Brutalism started with housing and slowly emerged into institutional buildings. However, its glory was very short-lived as people's interests in these buildings began declining. Prince Charles once criticized the National Theatre for looking like a nuclear power station. People also started disliking these buildings because sometimes, due to the boring, repetitive elements of masses of concrete, they felt these massive blocks to be out of context. Sometimes it's just the high walls that completely separate the ground of this brutalist campus and made it feel like it did not belong to the place. Also, it directly contradicted the idea of housing and British housing from the text from the book Ground Control, where people thought these to be defensible spaces, but it just ended up disconnecting the campus. People started reacting towards this situation and buildings, taking down many brutalist buildings. Still, these buildings are essentially snapshots in time, which signifies and explains human ideas and morals at the point in time. This is the map of brutalist buildings in London. Here is our site in Brixton, located in South London. The past map shows that the site seems more reachable in 1945. It had a clear road network, especially 3 walkable roads in the project area. The recent map shows that areas isolated by the Southwick House have been built like a maze without connection to other city parts. Many residents hate this place because a lot of crime has happened here, and nobody would like an unsafe place full of drugs and crimes. The plot was cut by 3 railway lines. Southwick House blocks the outside area, such as commercial and retail buildings. Only a few entrances and exits are provided, and the east boundary has a bad connection to its opposite side. It could be inconvenient for residents to reach East Parks. It is worth noticing that over 60% of buildings are residential, and there are a lot of young and old people. Therefore, how to deal with the problems of unsafe and disconnection spaces could be a priority issue. 23% of the population is under 19, which is the second largest percentage of the demographic. The 3 lines highlighted in the video show the educational institutions in this area. Many people hate these low-cost raw concrete buildings, but the exposed unpainted concrete and the brick facades of Southwick House are perfect for young people to perform parkour movements. The parkour rules information will collect from the game, and this data will submit to the relevant code design department. They combine with other different aged surveys to promote the replanning to deal with the disconnection, inactivity, and insecurity issues. In this project, we used a Parkour virtual reality game as a trigger to reactivate the space and stimulate young people to think about real-side connectivity and spatial activities. This game uses the concept of parkour to trigger young people's imagination about the site, allowing more young people to see the site space in a new way, not only from the walking and running perspectives, but to explore the potential of the space from a larger scale of the movement. For each time competition, 3 groups of people participated as teams, 2 people each divided into red, green, and blue teams. The rules of the game are as follows. 3 teams will choose their routes from the automatic database system. These 3 routes have the same distance. They must complete different actions on their respective team's routes and clock in at the route node. After completing the action and node tasks, you need to sprint to the finish point showing as red smoke usually. The finish point is located in the Parkour Park, which is also the center of this field. The first team to reach the finish point can press the button to set off a grand fireworks show for the venue. At the end of the game, a user survey will be taken in order to collect each user's opinion about the route and help the game system to update the better routes and settings. Furthermore, there are nodes activities for each route in this game. Each group must reach the nodes to complete the fixed actions and the corresponding tasks to reach the end finally. Take Group B as a game example to see what the actual game experience is like. Okay, players need to follow the routes chosen by themselves to complete the fixed action. After completing the fixed action, players can reach the game nodes. They need to complete the game tasks in each virtual activity space. These tasks have both single action and cooperate actions. After players experience the game, the system begins to conduct information, statistics, and surveys. The system will ask each group of players to evaluate the parkour route and vote on the route they want to play the most next time. The voting results of the route and the players' opinions on the space design will submit to the relevant department. Besides people under 19, we did research on people of different ages. Through our research, we found that internal and external people have very different opinions about this site. For those outside the grounds, the area is considered as a prison because of its appearance. Many residents said they would rather take a detour than go across it. For those on the site, the interior of the house flows very well, and the large windows on the south side allow sunlight to enter, and they are pretty satisfied with their flat spaces. On the other hand, there are some problems with the environment of its neighborhood. There is less communication between the nearby residents. The connection to the outside world is very weak because of the surrounding railway lines. Activity space on the site doesn't meet the demand of the residents, and the elderly would like more open spaces. In response to strengthening the internal and external linkage, we need to rethink the space of the site and provide more open spaces for everyone. Here, children can play in groups. There are lots of family activities, and everyone can communicate with each other. There are places to rest, sports area, and other public spaces to move around. After completing the survey of the residents' needs and suggestions, the next step is to develop a plan to realize our vision of connecting. With the help of government staff and the relevant organizations, the outdoor spaces can be divided into 3 categories: abandoned spaces, using spaces, and some blind spaces. These spaces can be redesigned as nodes of activity space. A number of functional facilities are distributed evenly throughout the site: sitting facilities, lighting, flowers, semi-private spaces, open spaces, children's playground, and so on. Now let's imagine the track of the action. People who want to do parkour can enter from this place. Surrounding residents can come to the site from all directions. It looks like a rough plan has been created. After the details have been worked out, we will submit the full plan to the local authorities for review. Then, some changes could be made in accordance with the law. Then a vote will be held in the community. If most residents agree with that, the plan will be implemented. This is the whole plan for our project. Thank you for watching.